Hey there, I see you sitting in the shadows. Welcome to Keep Creating You. This podcast was created to bring Generation X women a plan and strategy for the next part of their life. Are you one of those women who lived in their 20s and 30s raising children, and you found yourself looking at your life and wondering, what's next? Then this podcast is for you. We discuss how to look at the next half of your life and decide what your next steps will be. Whether that is creating a business, starting a side hustle, or maybe you plan to stay in the career you love. How do you plan to get the most out of your life? How do you plan to keep creating you? Join me for this episode as we discuss a few steps for the next part of your life. All right. So, are you doing something that you love? Did you make that change? Well, how do you feel about that? Are you growing? Are you growing in that right direction? Today, we're going to really dive into a little bit of growth. What kind of growth are you feeling in your life right now? So, you've lived your 20s, your 30s, half your 40s, or maybe all of your 40s, and maybe you've been in the same career. Let's talk about those type people first. You've been in that same career. You know, I have a couple friends like that, and great. Yeah, I've had this job for 30 years. How do you feel about that? You must love it, right? You must love being in that job because you've been there for 30 years. Or do you not really love it and you just couldn't figure out how to get out of it? You know, and that's possible. Maybe you just settled for that job because you thought, yeah, there's nothing else out there. Or maybe you're just an introvert and you just really didn't want to expand your horizons and move on. Or maybe that time just flew by. I don't know. There's so many different reasons, right? Different reasons why you might stay in a job for a significant amount of time. And nowadays, let me tell you, a significant amount of time to stay in a job is like really only like 4 or 5 years. You know, it's not like how we grew up with our fathers or our grandfathers who worked in the same factory or the same mechanic shop or the same whatever for, 40, 50, 60 years, and they walked home with that gold bracelet or the gold watch. That's not happening. That's not happening even if you do work at a job for 30, 60 years. Well, hopefully you're never going to work at a job for 60 years, right? But that's just not going to happen. Sure, they might give you some accolades. Sure, you might get a plaque for your desk, or maybe you might get a raise, or maybe you work for a really great company and you will get something. Great, excellent, good for you. But did you grow? Are you the person that you could be if you had moved out of that job? And I know that's rhetorical, right? You can't really make that decision. Kim, no, I don't have no idea. How am I supposed to know that? I can't really quantify that at all. And you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right that you cannot, and you maybe have no idea how you're going to quantify that growth, could you? And you probably can't. But it's not too late to grow, right? So maybe you have been in a job for 30 years, the same job. Are you doing the same job, right? We're going to go back. So you're at the same job. You have the same career, but are you doing the same job? Did you learn something new? Yeah, sure. Maybe the company moved over platforms a couple years ago and you had to go to training to learn that. But what do you do for you outside of that? What do you do for yourself to grow? When you go home, you have this job, you've been in it for so long, maybe you just brand it, whatever it is. You have this job and you go home. What are you doing to grow your mind to get to that next level? Are you reading a book? Are you taking extra classes? Are you going to art classes? Maybe you're going to art classes. I would love that. Yeah, I'm going to art classes. Actually, I have a class in a couple weeks. Are you taking a course online? That is so popular right now, right? You can take a course online about anything. And if you don't have the money to take a course online, they've got this great feature out there, this great app called YouTube, and you can practically learn anything on YouTube, right? you're a podcast listener, obviously, if you're listening to this, then you could even learn some stuff on podcasts. I'm actually creating a podcast right now on how to launch your podcast because I have so many people that have said, you know what, I'd love to have one, but I just don't know how to do it. So yeah, I'm just going to create a podcast on how to launch a podcast. So super simple, super easy for me, not for everybody. I get that. And that's it, right? That's actually kind of the thing. So my growth is not your growth, but can I learn from your growth? Could you learn from my growth? Could we work together and create some new growth within each of us, within ourselves? Now, I have a couple of resources that I want to share with you about a couple of maybe opportunities that you may want to check out. And this is opportunities such as maybe like starting a blog, because let's face it, right? You are Gen X, which means you have a lot of knowledge. You've lived a long life, and, not to say that's a bad thing, but you have way more knowledge than, the teenager that lives next door, right? And what is that knowledge about? What do you have about? So, maybe it's just as simple as maybe starting a blog and talking about something you love and growing that blog to be something that maybe you can make a few bucks off of, right? And even if you don't make a few bucks, you're growing because maybe you're like, you know what? I want to grow and I want to learn how to do an herb garden this year. And I'm going to start a blog about how to herb garden, how to get this up and running. So I'm going to learn as I go. And what a better way. Like we're always saying, journal, write it down. Don't just write it down. Freaking create a blog post about it and put it out there into the world. And who cares whether or not you get any traction or not? Sure, absolutely. You could get some traction if you wanted. You could grow this to be something that is a moneymaker if you wanted to. Or this could just be something for you. But I'm going to really encourage you to put that out to the world. Even if you don't put it out to the world, such as your friends or family, start an Instagram page under your blog name and get it out that way, right? Nobody has to know it's you. Who has to know? You don't have to actually tell anybody who you are. Or you could have an about page on your blog and just never tell your friends and family. But I do encourage you to eventually tell your friends and family, because share your growth, share your wins, share how you are progressing in your life, and stop thinking about what it is that they care about, whether or not, oh, don't do that. That's not going to bring you any money. That's not going to go anywhere. That's not going to do, why would you pour so much energy into that? Let me tell you, this actually brings up a really great analogy here about two women that came into the store. When I owned my craft store, I had two women come in on a semi-regular basis. They would be on their walk and they would be walking by the store. Now, they were older, and by older, I owned the store in my 30s. So I'm going to say that they were maybe in their late 50s or 60s. So not really as older now, but again, when I was in my 30s, they were older than me, right? And I can remember one woman coming in and she was so excited. She was looking around. She would ask me questions. She was like the ideal customer because, let's face it, women that are older, like ourselves, have a little bit more disposable income. We are looking for growth in our life. We're looking for something else to do, something new to learn. And I was a craft store and she was walking by, and why not stop in and take a look, right? Her friend was so negative. Her friend said to me, "So you sit and you craft? So that's what you do?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely. You make cards, we make scrapbooks, we make mixed media, art pages, whatever. We make things. But you sit. That's what you do." And I said, "Well, when I'm teaching, I'm up and walking around a lot. But yeah, for the most part, people are sitting to do this. And you sit for a long period of time and you don't get up. And I said, well, that's totally up to you. I mean, you can get a standing desk if you want, whatever. This woman was so turned off by the fact that you had to sit still, and craft instead of getting up and walking around. She literally told me that this was a poor hobby because this would kill you. Hello, creativity does not kill you. I mean, heck, you could probably walk yourself to death if you really wanted to, but everything in moderation. I'm not telling you that you have to sit there and scrapbook for 10 hours. No, I'm not telling you that. I'm telling you, you can get some creativity on, do something that you love, grow, learn something new, and then go for a walk. I don't care. Go for a walk. She was so put off by this. She ended up telling her friend over and over again what a waste of time this was, that this was a sedentary hobby and not something she should pour any of her time, energy, or effort into. And I never saw that person again. She just never came back. Sure, I saw them walk by, but that friend was so put off by what her friend put on her as what she should be thinking that she didn't go forward and grow. She didn't go forward and she didn't come back to the store. I mean, who knows? Maybe she did go on to do some crafting at her own house. Who knows? She probably was a crafter or liked it anyway, right? Why wouldn't she come in? Or why would she come in if she wasn't a crafter? But that friend put such a bad onus on being a crafter that she didn't come to classes. She didn't stop by and make any purchases. And I think that really goes to show some of the negativity that we grew up with in our lives, right? Again, I'm going to mention that this woman was probably old enough to be my mother, maybe a little bit older. So if I was 35 at the time, she was, 60. Well, yeah, I guess 35, 55, 60, somewhere around there. My mother is 20 years older than me. So yeah, that makes sense. So I'm going to say that kind of attitude, that attitude of those people that are in the next generation above us, has really pulled us down as a generation, us Generation Xers. And that's really inhibited and prevented us from doing a lot of personal growth of any kind. And I think that is so important in your life. I'm going to have a couple of resources on, starting a blog, or maybe you might want to do a little side hustle of something else. I'm going to have just a list of different areas in your life, different things that you could do on how you could grow, different craft classes you could take, different options, something that you could do today that's going to grow your mind to the next level, right? That's what we're looking for. So check those out in the show notes. And I would love to know how you plan on growing this week. Thank you for listening to Keep Creating You. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like the show, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast player so you don't miss an episode. I would also totally appreciate it if you gave me a rating or a review. I'd love to know if this information is resonating with you. If you're looking for more information about myself or this podcast episode, you can find that over at kpcreativemedia.com/podcast. You can always find the links and resources mentioned on the show there. And if you're looking to start your own podcast, let me know. I'd love to help you. Let's talk about your idea. What's your next step in your life? Until next time, see you soon.